Hey folks, I wanted to take a few moments to go over a spec that I've been using to farm old content, particularly Mana Tombs Botanica. I just got sick of running Botanica and I got tired of doing it with the blood spec, uh, and I wanted to try something different, maybe to try and get a little faster and just a little more fun. So I'll break this down into three parts. First part, I'll take a look at the spec, and then I'll take a look at the gear that I have as well as glyphs, and then the last part is an actual run of Mana Tombs, uh, sub 10-minute run with vendoring all the gear, uh, not even worrying about sending it to an alt for disenchanting or anything like that. So let's take a look at the spec first. So I have 5 for 5 in Anticipation, Epidemic, Morbidity, Ravenous Dead for the Ghoul Strength, Corpse Explosion. Then I needed 2 filler points, so I took Outbreak. That got me to the next level for On a Pale Horse, because I can still use this to quest to get around places faster. The stun reduction also does help. Then I also took Night of the Dead for the reduced cooldown on Army of the Dead, and also for the faster ghoul summons. 5 for 5 in Impurity, so the diseases do more damage. And one of the key points of this build is Desecration, because the plan here is to wear a mix of DPS and tank gear so that you can kill things faster. But the Desecrated Ground, the way that I play this is to use Plague Strike fairly often while kiting mobs around, using Blood Boil and Death and Decay in the same circle so that there's a lot of damage being done and you're taking minimal damage. Magic Suppression, so you're taking less magic damage as you're cutting mobs away. And I did take Reaping, 3 for 3, because then what I can do is when needed, every so often I can then Death Strike 3 times in a row. The key here is for the healing, let your diseases do the damage. Master of Ghouls, so that we can have a permanent pet. Anti-Magic Zone, although you'll see in the Mana Tombs run that I do, is I purposely don't use Anti-Magic Zone as Anti-Magic Zone, just to I was very conservative with the run, and it's still sub 10 minutes. Crypt Fever, Bone Shield, although Bone Shield I only really use, you'll see as if you watch really closely when I do the run, I only charge Bone Shield up as I'm looting. I'm not really worried about it unless it's a single target encounter, because the stacks get knocked off really quick. Ebon Plaguebringer, Wandering Plague, this is why I tried to wear a mix of DPS and tank gear. I think I have around 29% crit with this gear on, so Wandering Plague is activating fairly often. And I went down all the way to Summon Gargoyle. Okay, Blade Barrier in the Blood Tree. The reason we're going into the Blood Tree here is for Blade Barrier, for the Bladed Armor, Incentive Blood, so that I have more runic power. And the goal here is to get 18 points so that I have improved rune tap. A question that I was asked on one of the discords is why I didn't take, I don't honestly remember the name of the town right here, but the point is I would rather Death Strike 3 times in a row than be able to Blood Strike more often. I have tried this, I just feel the survivability is better with the playstyle, but to each their own. Okay, Glyphs. I have Glyph of Death and Decay, more Death and Decay damage. Glyph of the Ghoul, because I'm really using my Ghoul to pull things more often than I'm worried about damage, and it takes a lot of damage. Then Glyph of Icy Touch. Notice I'm not taking Glyph of Pestilence because I'm switching targets a lot and making sure I'm reapplying my diseases. And stuff's dying so quick. Again, this is for old content, although I have tanked heroics with it without issue. Okay. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to take a look at the actual gear that I have. This is actually done after the run that I did. Notice I have 353 gold there. I think before the run I had 263 gold, so you can see basically by just doing one run, sub 10 minutes, you are getting approximately 90 gold. So 50 minutes an hour, 90 times 5, 450 gold an hour, just vendoring, not counting disenchanting. I think that's a pretty good ratio. Plus it's a nice change of pace. Okay, I'm in mostly item level 213 gear. And I'm wearing 4-piece DPS set. But there's a mix here, you can see, of tanking pieces with DPS pieces. And I'm sitting here at about 25k hit points with this gear on. And it's not close necessarily to best in slot or anything like that. I don't have Darkmoon card greatness because I'm cheap, and I'm using Cryptbean's Bite as my main hand weapon just because no one else wanted it, and it's the best I could get at the point. So obviously the spec will only get better as the future content comes out. It will get faster. So let's take a look at the run here. You'll see I'll start the Kiwi farm here, and I'll run through just auto attacking here. What I try to do is Plague Strike in the middle so the desecrated ground slows things and you're taking minimal damage. Then pull the mob that has the most dots on it, spread diseases, and I was very conservative with this run and didn't do big pulls. You can do bigger pulls, higher risk of dying. You could wear all tank gear. I found that this is the fastest for me and it fits my play style, but you can pull a lot more if you have better, straight up tank gear, but then the kills are slower, but you are pulling more. Attacking this Voidwalker boss does pull the entire room, so what I do is I use Army of the Dead before it, and then attack it, pulls everything in, spread diseases, and Corpse Explosion on cooldown. Just take care of all that stuff, and along with the engineering gloves enchant and the gargoyle drops pretty quick. Okay, here I use my rocket boots, and I'm using, if you want to call this thing a tomb or whatever it is, for line of sight, along with the desecrated ground right here, spreading diseases. And I do believe I activate anti-magic shell here because there's a lot of casters. And again, I'm using line of sight here to get them all on the same side. Still, I don't think I drop much below half health. And again, you'll see that I'm using Death Strike on cooldown. So this is technically, I believe, the third pull that I've done. So 3 pulls, again being very conservative. So it speeds up now. So I use a combination of my Taunt, Death Grip, Ghoul Attack to pull all the mobs to my location. So this will be the 4th pull. I'll stop right here at this Ethereal Priest. And we'll speed it up because it's basically the same thing. Corpse Explosion on cooldown, make sure you're refreshing diseases. Loot. I do activate my Rune Tap a lot on cooldown while I'm running between or looting. Notice my Ghoul is starting to get a little bit low. Again, I'm only using him to really pull things, trying to line of sight as much as possible. And I have done it in the past where I've just pulled this entire room, including the rock boss at the end of the hallway, but like I said, I wanted to show this in a very conservative way, just to show that it's very possible to do it this way and still make good time. I don't even have anti-magic shell on my bar here. It is in the spec, it's not on the bar because I wanted to show that I really didn't even need to use it, but it's there. Okay, there's that boss. I run down here, I pull these entire rooms. Now there's a lot of casters in here, so I do use anti-magic shell. There you can see I ran out while death striking to allow the diseases to tick away. And I'm still only at the 6-minute mark here from where I started. And I don't put a lot of stock in these gold per hour add-ons, especially with a lot of, sensationalized YouTube videos saying they make X amount of gold per hour, and it's really not that in practicality, which is why I specifically vendor everything here. And it's 450 gold per hour doing the run, just vendoring this. Pull with the goal. I could again have pulled this entire room without much, without much problem, but like I said, I was being very conservative here. I'm sure players who are much better than I could optimize this and shave a couple more minutes off of it even. So we finish up the final boss here. You see the gold per hour ticker. But at the end here I slow it down, and I'm actually at the 9-minute and 41-second mark when I'm leaving the instance. And then I leave the instance, and 9 minutes and 45 seconds, another 15 seconds to walk over to the vendor. And again, here I have 286 gold, which it was actually earlier in the video, right? I recorded that part after, and it was 200 and it was like 376. It ended up being like 90 gold that I made from just that one run between vendoring everything. Depending on your auction house prices on your server, maybe it's cheaper, but that's the run. Any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll try to answer them. Thanks for watching.